So the whole thing about blockchain and crypto is to enable everyone with a phone to be able to bank. That's going to be huge, especially in the developing world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Colors of Web3 and Entrepreneurship. My name is Lum, your Web3 host. For those of you who are new to the show, Colors of Web3 and Entrepreneurship is a show highlighting the journeys of builders and innovators in Web3 and entrepreneurship. Some topics, especially in Web3, may get technical, but we do our best to keep it accessible for most people. And here today, I'm joined by Jack Ding. He's the founder and CEO of DomiChain. Jack, can you give a quick introduction by yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Ding. I'm a founder CEO of DomiChain. DomiChain is a fast, high-speed, high-throughput, highly secure blockchain that's suitable for the applications. A little bit of background about myself. I actually graduated from Tsinghua University with a physics degree, and then I came to the United States to pursue a PhD in physics. After my PhD, I also pursue a master's degree in computer science in Johns Hopkins University. And I started an IT career for about 20-something years, focusing on developing, designing distributed software for work for NASDAQ, for the World Bank, and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. And then later I started DomiChain to solve the scalability issue for blockchain.
Wow, interesting. Thank you. I think you have quite an interesting background there. I'm not sure where to begin, but maybe let's maybe rewind the history a bit. So you said you came to US, you did a PhD in physics, right? I think physics is certainly a very tough subject, I think, for most people. What was your research paper about, by the way, back in physics? Was it have to do with finance?
My research paper is actually in MRI. I was doing some MRI technologies from physics and engineering perspective, but trying to solve the fast imaging technique. Because in MRI, you want to be very fast. You want to be able to acquire images almost in real time. So I was, especially interested in fast MRI techniques for my research area. And then actually later after my PhD, I joined NIH as a research fellow for cardiac imaging. So I was doing quite a bit of fast cardiac imaging techniques in the heart with some special conditions of the heart.
Wow, interesting. So you're doing research for cardiac on the heart. Okay, so you're basically in the healthcare field, right? And then what made you go back to school? Right? I think you did when you went back to school. You said to get a master in computer science. What was the reason?
I was actually doing. That's a pretty fascinating field, but then I'm more fascinated by software technologies. So that was like the 1998 kind of time frame.
I see.
So I started to do a computer science degree during my postdoc research fellow time in NIH. So I started to attend Johns Hopkins school and trying to get my, computer science, a lot of those curriculum, including algorithm and some other coding, design, object-oriented design, development, that kind of stuff. Just get myself familiar into the software field. Although I've been doing quite a bit of software development during my PhD time because I was doing Fortran programming and C programming during the time doing for MRI research, also doing image processing. So I'm already naturally familiar with software technology and programming, but then I wanted to spend some more time trying to be formally educated from a computer science perspective.
I see. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what back then studying computer science was like, but you said you learn Fortran and C, right? I think those are probably some language. I'm not sure. Do people nowadays still use for Fortran? Is Fortran still a language that is being widely used?
I think it's still being used for the scientific computing field.
Really?
A lot of scientists, when they write program, they prefer Fortran because there's a lot of library for scientific computation.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I thought that. I mean, I never actually learned any word about Fortran, but I think for me, like, for Python, there's also a lot of scientific library, right, that I learned back in my data science days. But anyway, fast forward a bit. So you said, then afterward, you said after you got the master degree, you went to work for a couple of different companies, right? You said you worked for like
NASDAQ,
World Bank. Yeah.
yeah, work for NASDAQ. We were doing a real-time, like market surveillance time of software. Essentially, we're designing software component that runs on different computers. So it's a distributed architecture, but it require high speed because, you're trying to monitor the market. So you need to be able to process the data like within 2 seconds, like from one side of the into the computer system and outside the system. You need to be able to process everything within 2 seconds. So there's a special performance requirement for the software component we're designing, and it runs on multiple computers because it needs to be because one of them is there's special requirements. Some of the computer do one thing, process code, and the other one probably do the analysis of the data. So essentially, it's a distributed architecture and requires very high speed from one end to the other end because you need to be able to detect any market anomalies in real time.
Interesting. You said distributed technology. Would you say, is this like the predecessor or the like ancestor? I guess I don't know what the word is, but
It's
the predecessor for like the distributed ledger technology back
it's
then.
not really a distributed ledger. I would say it's more like a distributed system, right? So
I see.
essentially, you have some software component running on one machine, and then you have other component running on a different machine. So you
Yeah,
kind of like, each software component, like they do a little bit different kind of things, and then they combine, perform, certain functions. So it's a distributed architecture. It involves like, you need to be able to have some way to communicate between the different server, right? And then have a way to, and also make sure they're fast. You can't like, have things lagging for some time because, so we were dealing with a queuing architecture, to be able to using a queue to kind of loosely couple between different software servers while at the same time being able to process them quickly.
I see. Makes sense. Yeah, and so I guess after NASDAQ, you went on and built some other distributed system in the other company. You said World Bank also, right? And then
Yes.
Freddie Mae.
So then I also work for a company called webMethods. It's one of these early adopter of like software as a service. So they're the first one who have a um, like a web service in. They already have a web service in 1999 2000
Really?
timeframe.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
super
very
early.
early,
Yeah,
using XML.
really.
So the whole word of web service was termed like in 2003. So they're pre that term. So essentially, they're like the first one who really had the whole thing running, using XML as a protocol to do web service. Although it's not called web service in that company yet, it was called like Java service, but it's essentially using XML to exchange data. It's essentially web service in its early days. And then, so what I did for webMethods was design like a business integrator. Essentially, I came up with an idea to be able to graphically design a business process using web service. So you can, if you're like a business analyst, right? So you can use like a UI graphic tool that can drag and drop and writing like business processes, and then you can connect them, configure them, And so you don't write any code. Essentially, you're generating code by the tool. So that make it very agile. So anytime you want to make a change to the business process, you can like essentially just make a change in the UI, and then you can automatically it'll recompile and then regenerate code behind the scenes. It's a very interesting tool. And it's a nice concept we have because that was before anyone had the idea of doing like business integrator, because later there's some other company that offer that tool as a production mode. But we were kind of the pioneer in have the concept of graphically design these business process and link them with like, Java services or web services. And then, let's say from a conceptual or perspective, we're the pioneer in that field. I think even today, webMethods, they were later acquired by Software AG. They still have that tool available for integrating. Essentially, if you have like a business process span across like different business partner, you can connect them very easily using graphic tools. But it's a distributed architecture because each web service is running on different server, even different companies and that kind of stuff. So it's a distributed architecture by using a graphic tool that make it like easy to integrate them together.
Yeah, fascinating. I think I guess that would be the predecessor for the no code or low code too, right? I think these days we call those like low code because even like business people with zero programming knowledge can actually use it. Nowadays those codes are like everywhere. I'm pretty sure that you can. There's a lot of code like that. Like for example, like Zapier. Or, there's many other Web2 apps too. But that you can use to just drag and drop and then create your own, program and things like that. Wow, fascinating though.
So we were doing that very early, like in 2001, 2002 timeframe. That was very, very early.
Yeah, I think that was super early. I'm actually curious, like, who are the buyers? Who are buying those services?
Those are like companies that are interested in integrating with our business partners. Like we have enterprise customers. They will acquire the tool, they will design this business process, they will like connect with their business partners and run this process, in agile fashion. If they want to make change, they can make changes. And then, they can integrate. So the key idea is being able to integrate all the software components together using one graphical tool.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. That's really cool. And then, so afterward, right? And then you went into banking. You went back to banking or something?
Yeah,
but you still IT. Yeah,
kind of went into actually also like after my time with webMethods, actually become like an entrepreneur. I actually went to China and started a firm doing like smartphone applications.
Okay. What year was this, by the way?
2003. That was before iPhone. And
yeah, that was wow, really. So what smartphone was there then?
That was like Nokia 7650, 3650. Nokia was still big at that time with smartphone. And then Windows Mobile has like a version.
Really?
They have their own operating system. So there are like 6 or 7 different operating systems for smartphones.
Interesting.
So we were actually also the pioneer in doing mobile internet. Essentially, we designed like a more like a mobile social network, kind of like was very early. We were designing like some software interactions between like real people interaction. Like I can play like a game with you on my phone. If you're on the Windows Mobile, I maybe on a Symbian, maybe a Nokia phone, and then we can exchange messages. We can like exchange pictures. We can like play a game. So it's kind of like a interactive thing between the mobile users. So because that was very early for mobile internet, because a lot of people are still like phone is just using text messages, most people.
Yeah.
So we were like, super early in doing like, really interactions, like social network type of stuff on the mobile phone. So the market wasn't there because most people are, not educated, or, they don't have like a good smartphone to use, because, most people are on this little small brick phone with a little tiny little window, right? So
Yeah.
they do text messages and make phone calls. That's, what they do most of the time. So we're a little bit too early. It's a fascinating idea. So we have an idea of building like something like a type of stuff in 2003. Although,
Wow.
our investor kind of pulled out of the venture because they feel like the market's not there, and so they wanted to, they're not really in the they don't understand the internet thing yet, because in the internet, all you do is you want to acquire a lot of users, and then, you want to build your huge user base, and then you can, the revenue will come from there. But they don't believe that. They want cash flow. They're more like traditional. So they kind of kill the project. So me and my partner, we kind of like, came back to the North America, and we had to stop because we ran out of funding. But it's a fascinating idea. It was probably too early for its time. So we're like the too early kind of like marketing, or that venture. So we all come to North America, and then I, start to work for like Freddie Mac and the World Bank, and then did my work in the World Bank as a, security architect, designing like web service security for the World Bank. And also for Freddie Mac, a similar type of work. Essentially, it's distributed software security, web services, that type of stuff. How do you make these distributed software very secure? That type of work.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I think that was really fascinating story, though. That's quite unfortunate that it did not work out for your entrepreneurship in China. But I guess you were way too early, right? I mean, 2003. Who would imagine, like, who would actually have smartphone? I can remember, and then not to mention, like, not only smartphone, but like, the idea of having apps on your phone, on your smartphone,
Right.
actually, not even regular phone, right? Apps on your
Yeah.
mobile phone. Yeah, so like, I think you're way ahead of time. Yeah. WeChat, and we now we know that WeChat is like a huge, billion-dollar company in China. Yeah, so this, and of course, like I think one of the biggest, right, in China. But yeah, fascinating. And then so that's quite unfortunate. You had to come back US, but well, I guess things kind of working out in the end, right? But somehow, so I guess you're dealing a lot with like distributed system, right? But what made you? What was the first thing you learned about Web3, or maybe distributed ledger technology?
Like I first heard about Bitcoin 2014
Mm.
2014 timeframe,
Mhm.
when Tsinghua alumni came to the US and they gave a presentation regarding distributed ledger, Bitcoin. And so I was fascinated about it, because it's the very first type of technology that actually could potentially change the human history, right? Because you're talking about like
Yeah.
a a ledger system that does not require any kind of trust. You can literally like build a new financial system based on the Bitcoin thing. So that was 2014, and then I literally start to follow the field. I also did a little bit of investment in Bitcoin starting in 2016, Bitcoin Ethereum 2016, and then I started to look at the problem of distributed ledger, why Bitcoin is so slow, why, it's very useful. However, if you're running a transaction, it could take you like an hour to process. the whole promise of any financial system, you being able to settle a transaction, very quickly. Imagine, right? If you want to buy a coffee, you can't wait for an hour, and also the fee is too high. So that kind of stuff, that stuck in my mind for a long time. How do you resolve that thing? How do you make something like quick, right? Very fast and cheap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that problem has been in my mind for a long time. And then I start to think about how you can design something that'll be faster, cheaper, right? And it's still in a distributed fashion. So in kind of like 2017 timeframe. So that was when we start to do DomiChain at 2018, 20 kind of time frame. We were looking at some newer consensus mechanism, such as fast Byzantine agreement, which require a committee. You can use a committee to do consensus instead of all the node has to send out traffic or voting. So that's going to naturally slow things down. So we start to look at fast Byzantine agreement, and also Solana come with an idea of proof of history.
Yeah.
That was also pretty fascinating. But they still use the consensus of like PBFT, the traditional PBFT. So we have an idea of combining these two. Essentially, we wanted, because one of the good things about proof of history is in Bitcoin, you're using the consensus to decide on the order of transactions. And that's the first thing. And you also use consensus to come up with like a blockchain state. So you're using consensus for a lot of things. And that make it super slow, because you can't have these blocks too fast, then there's a problem, right? So there's a limit on that. So we love the idea of using proof of history so that kind of change the paradigm, because now you can use the mathematical algorithm, like a hash algorithm, to decide on the order of transactions. So you don't have to waste the time of a consensus to figure that out, right? So you use that. Naturally, there's a mathematical order of all the transactions when it happens, using a encryption clock, like what Solana is describing. So we leverage that. We start to look at integrating proof of history with fast Byzantine agreement, because one of the so if you use the proof of history, it kind of reduces the time it need for consensus. And then we combine that with fast Byzantine, then that even further reduce the time or traffic for come up with consensus. Because with traditional PBFT, you require all the node to vote, and then you require like a majority, right? And then if you have like a 10,000 node in the system, if everyone has to send the traffic or vote to come up with consensus, so your time increased by the n square, right? So in algorithm, it kind of like teach you, what's the time order of these algorithm. So for PBFT, the time required the cost of computing, or it's n square. So when the number of nodes in the distributed system go up by a lot, your time costs go up by n square. So it's very expensive, right?
Yeah.
And then, but with fast Byzantine agreement, it limit that to a committee and using like a random algorithm. So you don't have to have all the node to vote. Instead, you're going to have like a lottery mechanism. You're going to use this lottery mechanism to select a limit number of node to send the vote, and then you come up with consensus. So you reduce the traffic in the system by n square, essentially. So that become more like a linear problem instead of like a n square. So this way, so first we use proof of history to reduce the consensus for ordering transaction, and then we further reduce the time required for consensus using fast Byzantine agreement. And we combine those two, and we were able to create a blockchain that's distributed, that's decentralized, but then still maintain a high throughput. So that's essentially the starting point for DomiChain.
I see. I think that's probably a great segue now. Well, to thank you for sharing the brief preview, I guess, of DomiChain. But yeah, now let's go ahead and feel free to deep dive into DomiChain. If you have any presentation or demo document, feel free to share them as well too. So
Okay.
that'll make it easier. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. So I'm going to share screen window here.
Yep. Cool.
So the DomiChain is designed to be the most secure and high-speed blockchain. We're targeting for DeFi, Web3, and other type of applications. So most people will ask you the question, like, if do you want a blockchain that's just fast, or do you want a blockchain that's fast and decentralized? And probably, the last option is saying, do you want a fast blockchain that's decentralized and secure? So
this is basically the blockchain trilemma, right? Yeah, this is a trilemma.
Exactly. That's a blockchain trilemma problem. And most people are going to, tell you they want everything, right? So they want a fast chain that's decentralized and secure. Because if you're a fast chain, if you're not decentralized, then it's not really blockchain, right? So if you're more like a centralized system, people don't believe you're a real blockchain. And of course, security is important, because anytime you're talking about like financial systems, transactions, you want to make sure it's secure. So all those things are important, but then there's always, some kind of sacrifice people have to do because this is that famous trilemma problem. So what we are trying to do is essentially solve that without the too much compromise. So in reality, so we have a bunch of tier 1 fast blockchain, including Solana, Sweet, and Aptos. Solana is ranked as number 5, I believe.
Yeah.
It's literally number 3, because number 1 Bitcoin, number 2 is Ethereum, number 3 is USDT or something, and then number 4 is BNB. So number 3 and 4, they're not really focused on blockchain.
Yeah.
So Solana number 5 is really number 3. So they're doing pretty well with their ecosystem and everything. And Sweet and Aptos, they're also pretty fast. They can do like 50 to 150,000 transactions per second. But I think in Solana, they are in the production system, they're running at about maybe 3,000 TPS these days. I'm not sure, what the limitation is, but maybe it's have to do with PBFT, right? So they call it tower consensus. So, you have to be limited to the number of node. Once the number of node increase, then your throughput will go down. And then Sweet and Aptos, I think they have about 100 nodes, so they're a little bit limited with the decentralization side. So we really need a fast chain that's adequately decentralized and secure and doesn't go down, because Solana sometimes it go down because some attacks, right? There's a couple times it went down by by 8 hours or so. So that's not very desirable for like a, high speed blockchain or for financial transaction, for DeFi, for anything. People get worried if you go down for like, not to mention for hours, for even for minutes, right? So in DomiChain, we're doing in addition. So we're from a throughput perspective, we're similar to Solana, Suite, and Aptos, but we're making the blockchain not just high throughput. We also wanted to make it very secure. So from a security perspective, we're doing a few things. And the first thing we're doing is we're the first one that using AI to enhance the blockchain security. So the way we're working on that is essentially we have these AI node that detect like network traffic pattern and attacks in real time. And we can prevent these attacks from happening. So the blockchain is more stable and it does not go down. So that's one of the key thing we're using AI node for. So we have these, we're going to probably have a lot of these AI node distributed. Could be like, 10,000 nodes or even more.
I see. So the main function of those nodes is just to protect the network mainly? Or is there some other?
Correct. So the main function is protecting the network. It monitor the network traffic in real time, and it'll detect some, let's say, attack pattern. Then it's going to use some smart algorithm to shut down these potential harmful node, right? So the way it works is because there's a famous attack called DDoS, denial of service. Essentially, they send you like 100,000 transactions in a second. They try to flood your network, but then because your transaction fee is so low, it only costs them like maybe $100 or something to send that 100,000 transactions. So that's going to flood your network. So the way it works in our scenario is we can actually detect these attack pattern, and what we'll do is we can increase the fee by like maybe 10,000 or something. So that's going to make your 100,000 transactions to be 10,000 times more expensive. Right? So so that's going to cost you close to like $1 million or something to make such an attack like that. Naturally, these attack is going to break because they're not going to allocate 1 million to make such attack. So the account is going to run out of fund, and then the rest of the transaction wouldn't go through. So in a simple simple scenario, that's the way it works today for DDoS. And we also have some model built up for spanning. We can prevent like double spanning type of attack, and we plan to develop some other model as well to detect other type of network attacks on the blockchain. And then so it's an ongoing effort essentially. So right now we have we're detecting and preventing DDoS and double spanning.
Cool. I see. Yeah.
And the second thing we're doing is we realize that Bitcoin, it's still with its proof of work because they require like such huge amount of electricity and hash power to attack a Bitcoin block. So what we're doing is we're leveraging that in the DomiChain. So what we are doing is we take a snapshot of Domi assets and we write that to Bitcoin blocks periodically. Like for example, maybe every hour we write that, to the Bitcoin blocks. So that way, that make the Domi assets very secure, almost as secure as Bitcoin. This is also very useful because most of the proof of stake chain, such as most of these high speed chain like Solana and all these, most of them are, even Ethereum is proof of stake. In the proof of stake chain, you can suffer from like a long chain attack, right? So somebody can try to use like some high speed, hardware to build a very long chain to attack you. So by doing this, by, snapshot asset, blockchain state, so we save the blockchain state to Bitcoin, that prevent that kind of attack. So, because all the blockchain state essentially already burn into Bitcoin blocks. Even if you build like a side chain trying to attack, you're not going to be able to attack it. So that's very useful in preventing such a typical attack on a proof of stake chain.
I see. So would you say this function is more for like backup function then, in a way, backup of the data?
So we are essentially, we're doing these two things together. We're doing the AI node. We're doing the snapshotting all at the same time to make the blockchain very secure. So we believe both of them are useful. So we prevent long chain attack. We prevent like DDoS, double spending. So all this stuff we're preventing this kind of stuff from happening in real time.
Real time is quite good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then further, we are actually partnering with a company called Failsafe to use traditional Web 2.0 security technology in blockchain and Web3. Essentially, in the last 20 years, the whole industry learned a lot about security. How do you secure software system? And there's a lot of things we learned. So we don't want to lose that. Essentially, we wanted to leverage all that 20 years of industry experience and put that into use for blockchain or for DomiChain. So that'll further make the DomiChain validator node and more secure. And so that's something that we continue to work with Failsafe in that front. So this is just a, like a little more like graphical description of what we're doing for so essentially the way it works in DomiChain, we have a core node and AI node. So the core node is similar to Solana's like the node in the in data center. So these nodes require hosting and then high performance servers, that kind of stuff. So they do blockchain validation. They produce these blocks and then validate them. And then the AI node, it doesn't require to be hosted in a data center. So this is the node that's distributed. It measures, it monitors network traffic, and that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. It detects these anomalies and then prevent them from happening, prevent the attacks such as DDoS and double spending. This is this essentially these AI node, you can kind of like, they're kind of like the decentralized firewall, right? So they're like the firewall protecting these core nodes from attack, from a high level conceptual. And again, we're combining FBA, which is standing for Fast Byzantine Agreement, with proof of history to increase the throughput while maintaining decentralization. The Fast Byzantine Agreement actually was initially published by MIT. Essentially, that's the whole algorithm using a self-running lottery mechanism to select block leader and also select a committee in a very random and secure fashion. So, before the blocks being produced, you have no idea who the committee is. That's the core idea. And then, so when only the node itself, the validator itself, know whether it's being selected or not, but nobody else knows about that. And then, so whoever that's selected as a committee, they will send out these, vote to the network, and then they come up with consensus. So it's very secure. The chance of adverse attack is less than 10 to the minus 18th power. So that's like once since the creation of the universe. It's very, very small probability.
It's tiny, yeah.
Yeah, tiny. And this an FBA or Fast Byzantine Agreement is more scalable than PBFT because the throughput is not affected by the number of nodes in the network, so because it's based on the committee. PBFT, it's going to slow down by n squared, so we're not suffering from that problem. So this way, we're making the blockchain more scalable, even when we have a lot of core nodes, a lot of a bigger network. The other thing that DomiChain is doing is we developed a WASM virtual machine. So WASM is a industry standard for web assembly. It's a cross-platform, cross-language, multiple language support. It's highly efficient. It's close to native code. So by using this VM, we can make the smart contract execution very fast, and also support multiple programming language. So sometimes the developer, they only know about JavaScript or Python or something. They don't want to necessarily learn another language to write smart contract. So by using WASM, we can allow them to use a language they're already familiar with to write smart contract.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's probably a good way to attract, I would say, Web 2 developers, right? Who have
exactly.
Yeah.
A quick comparison of Solana and Domi. So on the left column, that's Solana, and the right column, that's DomiChain. So the block time were a little bit faster. And then the decentralization part, they're only limited to high performance servers. And we have, core node and AI node, and then we have more decentralization. And also because they're using PBFT and we're using the FBA. So we're more scalable. So even in the future, we can have a lot more core node, a lot of these node, and still maintain high throughput because of the committee consensus mechanism, the random committee. From scalability perspective, again, the Solana's throughput would be reduced when they have a lot of nodes. that's naturally from their consensus, unless they change their consensus, right? And in our case, we actually are not affected by the number of nodes. And then from a security perspective, we're doing a few more things in addition to make the blockchain more secure. As I explained earlier, we're using AI node to prevent network attacks. We're using like a snapshot to save the token or blockchain state to Bitcoin blocks, make it more secure to prevent like a long chain attack. So, and then consensus, they're using PBFT and using the fast Byzantine agreement. In addition, we also have some other security measures, like I mentioned earlier. So DomiChain, we were in testnet for about 8 months. We are also building a fast Bitcoin transfer layer to enable so people can transfer the Bitcoin into DomiChain today. And then once they're on DomiChain, they can settle the transaction very quickly with low transaction fee. And they can also transfer Bitcoin back to the Bitcoin network if they want to, by paying the gas fee, obviously. We also support USDT bridging. So, people can transfer their USDT into DomiChain, and then they can again make a very fast transfer of USDT, and they can transfer back to the original blockchain as well. And this is something we are going to build in the future. We're going to look at building like a Bitcoin layer 2, like with ZK rollup type of style, and maybe even smart contract support. So that's something that we are looking at developing in the future. And so DomiChain is literally a general purpose layer 1 blockchain that works well with DEPIN. So we can work with some other, like for AI chip renting, for decentralized web services. That's another ecosystem we're trying to develop. And so this is also pretty interesting because there's a lot of push for DEPIN these days, right? So people wanted to be able to lease out the decentralized network, or even more, we want to be able to lease out like a WASM VM, right, in a decentralized fashion, so people can run their smart contract with whatever language they develop. So we're very big with SocialFi. We were, working with some social network, maybe some Web 2 companies trying to migrate their system into Web 3. We're big with payment processing. We're actively looking for payment solution partners. Decentralized exchange, that's the we're also looking at partnering with some DEX offering that can provide liquidity to assets on DomiChain. And RWA is another thing that we're working on some very important partnership with there's a firm in Asia. They actually have 3,000 art pieces they want to bring on chain.
3,000 art pieces. Are these like physical arts we're talking about?
Yeah, they're physical art. They're in museums, and so they want to bring them on chain. So we're working with them to make them on DomiChain, and also probably build like a NFT marketplace, or maybe integrate with OpenSea. So we're looking at different scenarios.
I see.
And also, so this is something that probably going to happen pretty soon because we're looking at signing a contract with them in the next couple weeks. So there'll be like 3,000 art pieces. Very, very interesting. We'll probably even have like a special discussion with you maybe in the future regarding this, if you're interested.
Yeah, sure.
And we can also support like gaming Web3 applications. We're looking at probably have like some presence in Hong Kong region because Hong Kong is very much encouraging Web3 applications. So we're looking at some kind of branch office in Hong Kong region to work with a lot of these Web3 developers. And Hong Kong government is also very, very much encouraging blockchain technology in Web3. So we're looking at some like work coming to Hong Kong and supporting all that the effort from their policy perspective. The government, we have some initial discussion with the Hong Kong government. They're very much interested in promoting blockchain technology, and so I think in one of the region, one of these incubator, they have like 250 Web3 companies. So we're looking at probably joining the mix and then working with these guys closely to support all these Web3 applications.
I see. So I guess those are like the application you would like to have, right? Is that correct? On your chain, yeah.
Yeah. The more
Yeah.
application, the better. So essentially, we want DomiChain to be used by anyone who's looking for like a highly scalable, highly secure blockchain with low transaction fee. A lot of these Web3 applications, they're looking for like an reliable blockchain that can process their transactions, high throughput, highly secure, and with low fees. So that's our kind of like target market. We target both the application developers and also end user. So for end user, we're looking at developing, partnering with some of these application developer to develop something like what I call like a killer app, right? So like for example, there's a option trading app that's a lot of fun. So you put in like $20, you can bet on the direction of Bitcoin after 24 hours. If you bet it correctly, you probably make like $100. So it's a 5x gain. But if you lose, you're probably going to lose only $20. So that way you're literally like make option trading available to like anyone. So because anyone can afford like a $20 essentially, right? So most people, that's like cost of a meal or
Yeah.
right. So the idea is to limit the risk while making it very profitable for like some people. So it's kind of like a option game type of, you can consider it's more like a game kind of scenario. So it's a small bet, but then you can make some money, and if you lose money, you lose only small amount of money. A lot of people, when they're scared of option trading, because if you don't know how to limit the downside, you could lose a lot of money in one shot.
Yeah.
Most people don't know how to do it. So essentially, we want to make it like, make it super easy for people. They don't have to, they're not going to lose a lot of money. It's just, it's more fun that way. So that's what we call probably a killer app. Yeah. And there's a few more, like, more apps that we're working on to really get a lot of people to use the blockchain. That's our idea. We want to essentially get a lot of people into blockchain by making it super easy, super safe, and super fun. That's essentially what we're trying to do.
Awesome. Yeah, makes sense. Thanks for sharing that. That seems a very, very comprehensive document, yeah, about your the chain you're trying to build.
All right. So I was just going to quickly go through the tokenomics. So essentially, in DomiChain, we're adopting a kind of like a zero permanent inflation. So in some of these proof of stake, they have like a permanent inflation. For example, Solana has like a residual inflation of 1.5% permanently, and we're trying to eliminate that. Essentially, our total supply is 1 billion. That's it. We're not going to go over that number. So we guarantee that by mathematics, just like Bitcoin. So we have this mechanism of reducing the proof of stake rewards every 4 years. So essentially, that limit the total supply to permanently 1 billion. So it's never going to exceed that number, essentially. So that's something to watch for. And I think Ethereum also have like a permanent inflation or something, but they do burn Ethereum somehow. So they kind of like balance out. But some of these proof of stake chain, they have a permanent inflation because they want to like somehow incentivize, or they have some way to make sure people do the validator, incentivize people to host this validator node. But we wanted to have a fixed supply, and because we believe that the transaction fee should be enough to cover the cost for validators. We will have enough validators. We're not going to worry about that. But we want to limit the fixed supply to 1 billion. And the other thing I wanted to mention is we have been in testnet for about 8 months, and we have some airdrop capabilities that let people have a few tokens to play with if they download our website. So if anybody wanted to download our wallet, they can go to dominochain.com. There's a download link. They can download like a wallet. They can freely get a few tokens. They can stake them. They can play with them for fun. So now, we're actually increasing number of users, but very quickly. We currently have like 1.2 million wallet address that has like Domi token, and it's increasing by almost like 20,000 every day. So it's a lot of people are downloading wallet and then play with them, have some fun with it. So we really enjoy that.
I see. And you say the majority of the users are probably from is it from global, or is there one particular country? Or
we have a lot of people from Asia.
Okay.
We need to have more global presence. We're more like Asia focused right now, but then because of the free download and also free airdrop, literally anyone in the world, they can download the wallet and play with it. So there's no limit. We don't limit to region or anything.
I see. Yeah, makes sense. So then they would, but this is still for testnet, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is still testnet. We're going on mainnet pretty soon. We're literally, our software is ready. It's pretty much already, on mainnet version. So, but we want to be able to have some marketing event and trying to, have a few more things for people. Look for some press release or some marketing event in the next couple months for DomiChain mainnet launch event.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be a pretty exciting event, I'm sure. Actually, maybe let's shift again. I'm quite curious about about the team behind the DomiChain, right? How many people work in the team and to support and maintain the DomiChain?
Yeah, we have about 20 people in a team. So we're kind of spread out. I'm located in Virginia. United States. We have some folks in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And we have some folks in Spain. We also have some folks from Eastern Europe, and it's kind of all over. We also have like a pretty strong marketing team in Asia, in like the China, in Hong Kong, and some other Asian region.
I see. Yeah, so very distributed and global team then. Yeah, so it sounds good. So I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of existing wallets. Sounds like a lot of user, and I assume that a lot of the testnet app, was a lot of the ecosystem app you said earlier, is also going to is actually already deployed on the testnet, right? So people can actually try it out. Right? Yeah.
So we're gonna once we have the option trading like application up and running, we'll probably do another event and then kind of educate people how to use them. It's going to be a lot of fun. Essentially, you put in like $5, $20. You just have some fun with it. If you lose it, it's not a big deal. It's not going to affect your life. But then if you win it, you may win big, right? You make $100 out of like $5, $20. That's a lot of fun.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then we also have the RWA. Like we're going to have like 3,000 art pieces on chain. So if people wanted to like buy a piece of it or something as a investment in the art world, they could. We're gonna make it very transparent. They can see where the art piece is located, in which museum, and there's like official certificate for like how much this piece is worth, that kind of stuff. So that'll be available. So if people wanted to look in there, that'll be a lot of fun as well.
I see. Yeah, I think that probably might be a good use case for the physical art, right? Bring them on chain so more and more people can actually use them. Yeah, it's great. What are some of the challenges, would you say, facing your team then? I mean, it sounds like everything is going pretty smooth.
Challenges are, everyone is in different time zones. So sometimes like, it's kind of hard to get people together, and also like, it's kind of hard to manage such a diverse team. And, it's like, I'm in the Eastern time zone, and then there's people in other time zones. So it's fairly challenging on the management side. The other thing is we're like a very technical team. So we need to be better with marketing to get the word across. So we haven't spent a lot of effort in trying to like make people aware about DomiChain. So a lot of people still don't know DomiChain. So we're kind of like in the process of trying to get the word out, and trying to do more like podcasts like this, trying to produce some videos and tell people what's going on here, what's new, when is our next big event, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's also a challenge because we're so, such a technical team. So marketing side need to be, strengthened somehow,
I see. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think about your first part about the time zone. Yeah, I feel like crypto is pretty much like I mean, there's a lot of people who work basically the 7 days a week, right? Yeah, it's like some people say that it's like 24/7 type of job. You don't really sleep in crypto, so yeah, I understand that part. The first part is tough, and then the second part, marketing. I don't think it's only your project that have that challenge. There's actually many other project. A few I've talked to actually, and also probably encounter the same problem, because some of the technology in Web3 is just really complex. I mean, I probably like a lot of the consensus mechanism. Of course, if you go too deep into it, people will probably most likely get lost. Like proof of history and fast Byzantine. I think for technical people like myself, I think I can probably grasp and understand it, but for laymen, so I mean, it's going to be quite tough for doing the marketing. Maybe probably better to shine on some other aspect of it, right? But like you said, but it's a very high throughput, and then it seems like your chain have solved the trilemma, if I understand correctly, right? You both secure, decentralized, and fast, right? So those are like very important property for people to move to look forward to when using a chain. Cool. So just a few more questions here from my side. We'll close out. Maybe one is that so I mean, since you've been in like the technology world for IT and also in crypto and Web3 for quite a long time now, where do you think Web3 or crypto is heading in the future?
I think I from day one I never doubt that blockchain is going to have a huge impact on the world. Even since my first I heard about the first presentation about Bitcoin in 2014. So I think it's a slow process, but then I think it's going to affect like from a financial perspective, like the financial services is going to be having a lot of impact because a lot of people don't even have banking, so this crypto thing is naturally going to help them a lot. So the whole thing about blockchain and crypto is to essentially it's going to enable everyone with a phone to be able to bank. That's going to be huge, especially in the developing world. In Africa, a lot of these places, a lot of people would be able to enjoy. Essentially, you have your bank on the phone, right? So I'm a pretty big guy for like mobile things. Like even in 2003, I started to do mobile internet and mobile social network.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that the mobile phone is going to be it's key for a lot of people to get financial services, to get a lot of these apps, and blockchain should be right there helping people to get financial services. Not just financial services, they can also do a lot of other things, like even gaming, a lot of things. So that's Web3 has a lot of promise there. And Web3 is going to happen. It's slow, but then you still with a lot of Web2 giant there. They're doing a couple of things, and then so Web3 slowly catch on. But I believe it'll happen, and then blockchain is a central piece supporting Web3 applications. So that's going to be key in developing these Web3 applications. That's why DomiChain want to be right there to be able to support all these Web3 applications, including DeFi, financial applications, games, anything, SocialFi, social network, all kind of stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I think similar to you, we're also looking forward to the day when a lot of the killer use cases, right, are being developed. Yeah, we don't know whether it's going to be game or financial application or whatever it may be, but yeah, I'm sure that they will come. I think we just have to keep the building. And yeah, I like your point about the mobile phone, right? It's like the gateway that allows people to be their own bank, right? Because I mean, you just need a mobile phone, right? And then from there you can be that, and then certainly blockchain is there to help support that as well. So I think it's a great point. Yeah, two more questions from my side here. One is that do you have any, since you've been building your company for, I think you said it's since 2017, right? 7 years. Yeah, so 7 years already. Do you have any advice for people who want to build their own Web3 company?
Absolutely. I encourage anyone who has a desire to start a new business, anyone who has an entrepreneurial mindset to start to do Web3, because that's where the technology, it's going in the next 5-10 years. If with AI, with blockchain, Web3, there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of new opportunities. I really encourage people to come up with some innovative idea and then execute on it. The key is execution, because a lot of people may have an idea, but then, including myself, sometimes I have all these great ideas, but if you don't execute on it, you sleep, it's never going to happen. Some people always like to come up with idea, but they they're not going to have that, first step to actually start to do it. So it's never going to happen. So that's the first thing. First advice is to execute on your idea. And the second advice, and also from my own failure, or in 2003 timeframe, I wasn't persistent enough to continue that venture that I started in that time frame for mobile internet, for mobile application development. If I would have be more persistent, it might have been different, right? So you don't want to give up easily. It's always hard to be an entrepreneur. It's very challenging, but you want to make sure you have that persistence there. Don't give up easily. Like Trump says, persistence. That's one of the things he keep on saying. I think that's a great advice for a lot of people.
I see. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I think, but yeah, I think also that, I think timing for a certain, business idea, right? And also certain timing also matter quite a lot. I think back then you were just too early for that. I think that also happened. But yeah, I agree with you about the patience and keep building. Some of the project or some companies I've talked to, I think they've been building for years, right? And then they have to build through the bear market, because and like crypto, you have the bull and bear cycle, right? So bear market, so they just basically just put the head down and keep building for more years and wait until the day when it's success. But I think we both know that success is not something that's created overnight. So yeah,
that's a great idea. So during the bear market, heads down, build stuff, keep building, don't give up. Like everyone is pretty bearish, but don't give up. Just keep on doing what you're doing. It'll happen.
Yeah, because this is what I heard a lot of the, I've been for many projects, right, that actually survive in crypto. They kind of do have to do that. You cannot expect like the bull market to like always be on, right? Bull market, yeah. Right now we're like on sideways anyway, but I think someday, maybe after bull market, bear will come, right? Yeah, you can't just be bull forever. So makes sense. Okay, and then one final question: where can people follow you? Feel free to share any handle name, user. I think you mentioned about the website. Yeah, but
go to our official website is dominochain.com. You guys, people can also follow us on Twitter. That's DomiChain. It's on X or on Twitter, it's just called DomiChain. You can look us up. You can follow us.
Yeah. Anything else? Awesome.
I want to thank you, Lam, for organizing this podcast. This is my first time. I need to do more of these. I'm interested in doing more, but it's been a great pleasure talking to you, and it's very rewarding. And I wanted to thank everyone for listening to this podcast.
No, actually, I also want to thank you. And by the way, I'll make sure to put all the links you mentioned in the show notes here, so for people to access it very easily. And yeah, once again, well, thank you for being on the show today, Jack. It's been a real pleasure learning about your company, your academic and also professional background, and then the great Web3 company that you're building. I wish you the best of luck. I think it's very tough to especially run a company in web, keep building, and hopefully something great will come out. So thank you again for being on the show. Yeah,
thank you.
And we're back to my studio. What do you guys think about this episode with Jack, founder and CEO of DomiChain? As for me, I'm always happy to see new technical innovation in the Web3 space. For the next episode, we're talking to Apur Kaushal. He's the co-founder of Interact. Interact is a go-to platform to learn Web3, participate in quests, earn rewards, and have fun. If you enjoyed this episode, please give a like and subscribe. It'll mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.